Shafa Alya Ginanita. In this great occasion, I would like to present about step-by-step guide to data collection. What is data collection? Data collection is a systematic process of gathering observations or measurements. Whether you are performing research for business, governmental, or academic purposes, data collection allows you to gain first-hand knowledge and original insight into your research problem. While methods and aims may differ between fields, the overall process of data collection remains largely the same. Before you begin collecting data, you need to consider first, the aim of the research. Second, the type of data that you will collect. Third, the methods and procedures you will use to collect, store, and process the data. Next, what is the benefits of data collection? When conducting research, collecting original data has significant advantages. First, you can tailor data collection to your specific research aims. Example, understanding the needs of your consumers or user testing your website. Second, you can control and standardize the process for high reliability and validity. Example, choosing appropriate measurements and sampling methods. However, there are also some drawbacks. Data collection can be time-consuming, labor-intensive, and expensive. In some cases, it's more efficient to use secondary data that has already been collected by someone else, but the data might be less reliable. To collect high-quality data that is relevant to your purposes, there are 4 steps. Step 1. Define the aim of your research. Before you start the process of data collection, you need to identify exactly what you want to achieve. You can start by writing a problem statement. Example, what is the practical or scientific issue that you want to address and why does it matter? Next, formulate one or more research questions that precisely define what you want to find out. Depending on your research questions, you might need to collect quantitative or qualitative data. Quantitative data is expressed in numbers and graphs and is analyzed through statistical method, while qualitative data is expressed in words and analyzed through interpretation and categorizations. If your aim is to test a hypothesis, measure something precisely, or gain large-scale statistical insight, collect quantitative data. If your aim is to explore ideas, understand experiences, or gain detailed insight into a specific context, collect qualitative data. If you have several aims, you can use a mixed methods approach that collects both types of data. Here are the examples of quantitative and qualitative research aims. You are researching employee perceptions of their direct managers in a large organization. Your first aim is to assess whether there are significant differences in perceptions of managers across different departments and office locations. And your second aim is to gather meaningful feedback from employees to explore new ideas for how managers can improve. You decide to use a mixed methods approach to collect both quantitative and qualitative data. Step 2. Choosing your data collection method. Based on the data you want to collect, decide which method is best suited for your research. Experimental research is preliminary a quantitative method. Interviews or focus group and ethnography are qualitative methods. Surveys, observations, archival research, and secondary data collection can be quantitative and qualitative methods. carefully consider what method you will use to gather data that helps you directly answer your research questions. Here are some data collection methods. First, experiment. We use experiment to test a causal relationships. And how to collect data with experiment is manipulate variable and measure their effects on others. Second, survey. We use survey to understand the general characteristic or opinions for a group of people. And how to collect data with survey is distribute a list of questions to a sample online, in person, or over the phone. Third, interview or focus group. We use it to gain an in-depth understanding of perceptions or opinions on a topic. How to use interviews is verbally ask participants open-ended questions in individual interviews or focus groups discussions. Next, observation. We use it to understand something in its natural setting. To collect data with observations, we use to measure or survey a sample without trying to affect them. Then, there is ethnography. We use it to study the culture of a community or organization firsthand. How to collect data with ethnography? Join and participate in a community and record your observations and reflections. Next, there is archival research. We use it to understand current or historical events, conditions, or practice. To collect data with archival research, we can access manuscripts, documents, or records from libraries, depositories, or the internet. Last, secondary data collection. We use it to analyze data from populations that you can't access firsthand. To collect data with secondary data collection, we must find existing data sets that have already been collected from sources such as government, agencies, or research organizations. Step 3. Plan your data collection procedures. When you know which methods you are using, you need to plan exactly how you will implement them. What procedures will you follow to make accurate observations or measurements of the variables you are interested in? For instance, if you are conducting surveys or interviews, decide what form the questions will take. If you are conducting an experiment, make decisions about your experimental design. First, operationalization. Sometimes your variables can be measured directly. For example, you can collect data on the average age of employees simply by asking for dates of birth. However, often you'll be interested in collecting data on more abstract concepts or variables that can't be directly observed. Operationalizations means turning abstract conceptual ideas into measurement observations. When planning how you will collect data, you need to translate the conceptual definition of what you want to study into the operational definition of what you will actually measure. Example of operationalization. You can decide to use surveys to collect quantitative data. The concept you want to measure is the leadership of managers. You operationalize this concept in two ways. First, you ask managers to rate their own leadership skills on 5-point scales assessing the ability to delegate, decisiveness, and dependability. Second, you ask their direct employees to provide anonymous feedback on the managers regarding the same topics. Using multiple ratings for a single concept can help you cross-check your data and assess the test validity of your measurements. Second, sampling. You may need to develop a sampling plan to obtain data systematically. This involves defining a population, the group you want to draw conclusions about, and a sample, the group you will actually collect data from. Your sampling method will determine how you recruit participants or obtain measurements for your study. To decide on a sampling method, you will need to consider factors like the requirement sample size, accessibility of the sample, and time frame of the data collection. Next, standardizing procedures. If multiple researchers are involved, write a detailed manual to standardize data collection procedures in your study. This means laying out specific step-by-step instructions so that everyone in your research teams collects data in a consistent way. For example, by conducting experiments under the same conditions and using objective criteria to record and categorize observations. This helps ensure the reliability of your data, and you can also use it to replicate the study in the future. Next, creating a data management plan. Before beginning data collection, you should also decide how you will organize and store your data. If you are collecting data from people, you will likely need to anonymize and safeguard the data to prevent leaks of sensitive information. Example, names or identity numbers. If you are collecting data via interviews or pencil enter formats, you will need to perform transcriptions or data entry in systematic ways to minimize distortions. And you can prevent loss of data by having an organization system that is routinely backed up. Last step is collect the data. Finally, you can implement your chosen methods to measure or observe the variables you are interested in. Examples of collecting qualitative and quantitative data. To collect data about perceptions of managers, you administer a survey with closed and open-ended questions to a sample of 300 company employees across different departments and locations. The closed-ended questions ask participants to rate their manager's leadership skills on scales from 1 to 5. The data produced is numerical and can be statistically analyzed for averages and patterns. The open-ended questions ask participants for examples of what the manager is doing well now and what they can do better in the future. The data produced is qualitative and can be categorized through content analysis for future insight. To ensure that high-quality data is recorded in a systematic way, here are some best practices. First, record all relevant information as and when you obtain data. For example, note down whether or how lab equipment is recalibrated during an experimental study. Second, double-check manual data entry for errors. And last, if you collect quantitative data, you can assess the reliability and validity to get an indications of your data quality. Okay guys, it's all about my presentation today. Thank you for watching. Bye!